of the Capitol Police. As noted, this is our final Rules Committee hearing this Congress, and it is a fitting one, as so much of the work that we have done, that I have done with Senator Fisher, as well as before that Senator Blunt, has been focused on public safety, and especially over the last 4 years. I would like to thank Chief Manger, who came to us out of retirement, thank you, for your work you have done to support the department's workforce and to make the needed security improvements we're here to discuss today. I'd also like to again express my gratitude to the brave men and women of the Capitol Police for the work that they do every day, and thank you, Gus, for your leadership of the union, and just thank you to all of those involved in public safety. I'd like to thank Senator Fisher for her partnership in the last 2 years. Deb, I've appreciated the opportunity to work with you. We have tried so hard to, I think, positively realize that this committee's jurisdiction is a little different than some of the others, and it's more important than ever that we work together, and if we have disagreements, we work them out, and that we, I think Roy always used to say, are the mayors of the Capitol. And we get a lot of interesting requests, as does our wonderful staffs, and I specifically want to thank Elizabeth Farah, my staff director, for her incredible work. I'd like to congratulate our incoming chair, Leader McConnell, as well as, I believe, Senator Padilla, that's what I think, is going to be taking over our side in this committee, and to thank the Rules Committee members for their work. And we welcome our newest member, Senator Schiff. So, you know, we have 2 Californians on this committee right now. This hearing is a time to look at the progress the Capitol Police have made in the last 4 years and under the leadership of the chief since July of 2021. In that time, the department has made necessary enhancements impacting all aspects of its work, including many recommendations in the original bipartisan security report that came out of this committee, as well as Homeland Security. It was a work of, I would say, a lot of hard work of staff and a lot of willing to compromise on behalf of Senators Blunt, Senators Peters, and Portman, and myself. Coming out of those recommendations is the legislation that I led with former Senator Blunt, which is now law, to allow the Capitol Police to immediately request assistance from the National Guard in an emergency. Critically, the department has greatly improved under Chief Manger its handling of intelligence and how it shares information with rank and file officers, including by creating a centralized intelligence bureau, prioritized operational planning by requiring plans for all large-scale events, and taken steps to ensure officers have the training and equipment to do their jobs. Notably, all 103 recommendations that the department's Inspector General issued in this series of reports after January 6th have now been implemented. I can't tell you how many times. I think we've had 8 hearings on oversight of the police. We have gone through the 103 recommendations and gone through the numbers, and I truly appreciate the public transparency and accountability. We also had with Congressman Stiles the first joint oversight hearing since 1945 of the security in the Capitol, and so we're really pleased with that as well, and your responsiveness, as well as the Sergeant-at-Arms, Sergeant-at-Arms Gibson. Here are some other examples of what this progress has looked like over the past 4 years. We know we have challenges, but I do think it's important to acknowledge the progress. The department now has an additional 360 sworn officers on duty from 1842 to 2,202. There has been a 60% increase in the number of threat assessment agents. 4 years ago, the department did not maintain a dedicated civil disturbance unit program, and today it has 6 platoons totaling more than 225 officers. And while only 25% of officers had access to riot gear on January 6th, something we will never forget, locked on a bus. Now every officer has this equipment. None of this would be possible without the officers who stand in defense of the Capitol every day and who have risen to the occasion as various threats have confronted members of Congress at the Capitol and beyond. In recent years, these men and women have worked significant overtime, had vacations canceled, family events canceled, while the department worked to add more officers. We thank them deeply for their service. I commend the Chief's commitment to ensure the department has the personnel it needs, including offering hazard pay, retention bonuses, and tuition support, and for exceeding the goal of hiring 280 additional officers this year. That was the goal, but instead hired 315 officers. And thank you again, Gus, for being such a strong advocate for the officers. I know there are always disagreements. We're well aware, but at the same time, you have also been an advocate for hiring and for the benefits for the officers. We owe it to these officers to show them that they have our full support. This includes continued funding for the Howard Liebengood Center for Wellness, and I would like to recognize the dedication of Dr. Serena Liebengood, the widow of Officer Howard Liebengood, or Howie, as he was known by so many of you, the 15-year veteran of the department who tragically died in the days after January 6th and for whom the center is named. Since its founding, the center has started a chaplain program, created 24/7 support resources, and trained over 50 officers as peer support specialists. At the same time, we look at all of the good work that's been done. We must be clear-eyed about emerging demands on the department's expanding operations that we need to confront head-on. In addition to the security challenges we have seen here at the Capitol, there has been a disturbing and unprecedented rise in threats targeting members of Congress from both parties, and the ongoing volume and severity of those threats has posed new challenges for the Capitol Police and local police departments across the country. The department reported over 8,000 of these threats just last year, and we expect to exceed that this year. This is 4 times over the number that we have received in not that far away years of the past. Members have been targeted with bomb threats, subjects of cyber attacks, had their homes swatted, and more. We must keep striving to ensure the Capitol Police can respond effectively to risks to member safety, including prioritizing hiring of additional threat assessment agencies and building on efforts through the department's field offices and agreements with local law enforcement to ensure members are safe beyond the Capitol complex. Finally, as we look ahead, I know work is well underway to prepare for the events that will take place at the Capitol, the joint session of Congress, to certify the results of the election on January 6th this coming year, and also, of course, the inauguration that Deb and I are working on together with the Joint Inaugural Committee. Both events have been designated as national special security events, which will provide federal agency resources to support the Capitol Police. While we won't get into law enforcement details today, it is crucial that the department is ready to support these events and are at the very heart of our democracy, and I look forward to hearing the Chief's comments on these efforts. Before I turn it over to Senator Fisher, I would like to make a few remarks to recognize what we have gotten done on the committee in the last few years, even beyond the major law enforcement changes and the hiring of Chief Manger. What may be our most lasting contribution to the Senate and the country will be on display next month when we convene to certify the results of the election in line with the significant reforms to the Electoral Count Act, which passed in this committee on a bipartisan vote of 14-1 and will ensure the will of the voters prevails in this and in future elections. And we will do so with key security improvements in place, thanks in large part to Chief Manger and Sergeant-at-Arms General Karen Gibson. Beyond this work, we passed bipartisan legislation into law. I've led this bill to improve accountability and empower Congress to appoint and remove the architect of the Capitol. That was a major change. The president had always been able to do that. I'm not going to go into the issues of the past, but we were very pleased to get that authority. We should own this, and we should, as we just did, made a decision across party lines and across House and Senate, and joined together to appoint our new architect, Tom Austin, with unanimous bipartisan and bicameral support. During my time at the committee, we have taken on a whole host of issues to improve the work for the Senate for those who work and visit here. Reopening the buildings after the pandemic, reforming the outdated process of reporting and handling sexual harassment claims on Capitol Hill, and making closed captioning available for all Senate committee hearings. We work to ensure that people visiting the Capitol see more statues of women. It's not just about what paintings and statues you take away, it's what statues and paintings you put up. We were really pleased to work on a bipartisan basis to get the new statues with Senator Murkowski, Collins, and Sinema, two former trailblazing Supreme Court Justices, Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and we doubled the number of rooms named after women in the Senate. Okay, I think there was just like 0 before, but okay, now we doubled it. All right. We also have the bust of the author of the Dred Scott decision removed, and it will be replaced by the one of Justice Thurgood Marshall. When our restaurant workers unionized, we made sure that they had a fair contract, and Senator Blunt and I worked together to negotiate that. We also updated the rules, one of my favorite fun things that we did, to ensure that babies can come on the Senate floor. When I promised Senator Duckworth I would get it done, and she kept, by surprise, getting more and more pregnant and asking me what was happening. And that was a proud day when she brought that little baby, Miley Pearl, all 6 pounds of her, onto the floor, wheeling her in on her wheelchair, change finally on the Senate floor. And of course, we have not lost sight of the fact that we must protect our free and fair elections so that people can make their voices heard in our democracy. This is a commitment that we must carry forward on this committee. I'm grateful to my colleagues on both sides of the aisle who I've worked with to get this done. I especially want to thank Senator Fisher and her great staff, and look forward to working with them in whatever capacity in their new jobs. And I want to thank her very much for her leadership as well. Thank you, Deb.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Klobuchar, for holding this hearing with the United States Capitol Police, particularly as we reach a time of multiple high-profile events taking place on our Capitol campus. The Rules Committee has jurisdiction over the day-to-day operations of the Senate and the wider Capitol complex. One of our most important duties is working with the Capitol Police to support their efforts to keep our community safe for our members, our staff, and our visitors. We owe a debt of gratitude to the dedicated officers who have sworn to protect us, and I am thankful to Chief Manger for his leadership. The Capitol Police's duties are broad, from patrolling the Capitol complex to providing security details to members as they travel across their districts and the country. As such, they face unique challenges as a law enforcement entity, and I am eager to learn more about how they approach their mission. This committee has heard from Chief Manger about staffing shortages in the past, but I am encouraged by recent recruiting levels, as it seems that the department is on track to near their currently authorized maximum employment levels. As the Capitol Police progresses beyond its staffing shortages concerns, it will be important to address other issues that are facing the department. I hope to see a focus on developing clear communications with the congressional community, especially as the department looks to utilize new technologies to keep our community safe. We continue to see ever-rising threats against elected officials, their staff, including recent abhorrent bomb threats against cabinet members and nominees. I encourage the Capitol Police to continue its relationship-building efforts with state and local law enforcement and to support collaborative efforts that keep people safe in their home districts, as well as here in Congress. As we approach the start of the 119th Congress, the Electoral College vote count, and the presidential inauguration, it is imperative that the Capitol Police balance individuals' First Amendment right to free speech with keeping the Capitol complex safe so that members of Congress can fulfill their constitutional duties. It is more important than ever that the Capitol Police remain a dynamic force, able to adapt to new and emerging threats, as well as persistent difficulties. Chief Manger, I look forward to hearing more about how you and your agency plan to meet the needs of this community as we move into the beginning of a new Congress. Finally, today, this will be my last hearing as Rules Committee ranking member. I'm grateful for Senator Klobuchar's partnership and friendship. I've enjoyed working these past few years to make this institution a better, safer place for all of our members to do the people's business. But I am especially thankful for my staff, without whom none of our work would have been possible. Jackie, Nicole, Allison, Sophie, Casey, and Chris, thank you for your professionalism and your tireless work. In the months and years to come, I look forward to continuing our work to safeguard this institution that we all hold so dear. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Fisher. Okay, any other comments before we go with the chief? Okay.
Something real quick.
Yeah.
I just would like the opportunity to say thank you to both of you. I mean, the way that you have chosen to lead this committee has been a model for how you do things, how you tackle really hard things in a bipartisan way. And so thank you for the way you've led, for your team, who we know does the hard work. Thank you for making sure that we could have a successful tenure here in this Congress on the Rules Committee. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, Chief Manger, thank you for what you do and the men and women who serve in the Capitol Police. Not only safeguarding our Capitol complex and making sure that the people who work here and visit here can do so safely, you all leave the safety of your home every single day so that we can return to ours. And you ensure that this is a place where work can get done for the American people. But the men and women who serve don't just serve as an institution and pillars of safety. They have become our friends and our family as we walk the halls and we come in and I see Officer Burke coming in out of the garage or whatnot. Or this week, they've been giving me a really hard time about Alabama not making the college football playoffs. So some sparring has been going on as well. But just know that we stand with you and we are so grateful for what you do and anything that we can do to help you elevate your game or the men and women who serve under you, count us in.
Thank you. Thanks, Senator. Senator Padilla.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I, too, want to take a moment to reflect on the hard work that the committee has done and all that the committee has accomplished under your leadership. I recall, it seems like so long ago, but in 2022, when we passed the Electoral Count Reform Act, which you referenced earlier, truly landmark legislation that modernized and secured Congress's process for counting the votes for president. We worked together to also introduce the Freedom to Vote Act with all of our colleagues on this side of the aisle, which seeks to make our elections not just safe and secure, but as inclusive as possible as well. As we're doing today, we've conducted oversight of the Capitol Police, but not just the Capitol Police, the Smithsonian, the architect of the Capitol, and more. And that doesn't even begin to describe the work that you do behind the scenes to help keep the buildings functioning and the many employees that work at the Capitol running so that Congress can do the people's business. So I can go on and on. Just wanted to take a moment to thank you, Senator Klobuchar, for your tireless efforts and leadership of the committee. And as we look ahead at the work that we still have yet to do, I'm just grateful to have you for an example of how to get it done.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Senator Padilla. And I was thinking of all those times, I'm looking at, your colleague from California is too new, but two of our best attenders, besides Senator Merkley, were you and Senator Welch. And needless to say, Senator Fisher and I need people here, and we have got many committees going on at the same time. So I've truly appreciated not just the support and the votes, and we're on a committee, the only committee that Senator Schumer and Senator McConnell are on, which always makes it interesting. But you have really been a great leader on this, and I'm looking forward to handing over the reins on our side to you. So thank you. Senator Welch.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be on this committee, one of 5 that I'm on with Senator Klobuchar. She's watching me. And Senator Fisher, it's really been wonderful to see the way the two of you work. Actually, that's been so pleasing to me. And we've had a recitation of things that have gotten done, and they're really important, obviously. The Electoral Reform Act, and also the oversight of these magnificent institutions. You know, I'd like to see this committee get jurisdiction for just about everything, the way our two leaders work. But it's been a pleasure to serve on this committee, and I do want to thank the Capitol Police. You know, it's such a hard job. We lost officers. We had injured officers. What happened 4 years ago, and the challenge that I see every day for officers who have to be totally vigilant to protect us, keep us safe. At the same time, have to be always polite and courteous to the public who is coming in, oftentimes under a fair amount of stress, and the capacity for self-control and discipline that I see every day among the Capitol Police is really, it's quite admirable. And I know how much that means to you, Senator Klobuchar and Senator Fisher. You know, when she talks to us, Amy and I have had several discussions about the Capitol Police, but that is literally top of mind in her concerns. So it's really quite a thrill to be sitting in this chair and seeing public servants who work hard and have to endure a lot of difficult challenges and do it well and consistently. So thank you. And Madam Chair and Vice Chair, thank you very much for your work.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Senator Welch, for being such a great mentee and getting on all 5 committees so that we have this sudden huge power and no one schedules both of our committees at once anymore because we're like, it's not 1, it's 2 votes. So with that, we turn it over to you, Chief Manger. Thank you for your leadership.
I want to thank you, Chairman Klobuchar, Ranking Member Fisher, for your leadership. I practiced my remarks about 5 times today, and I was always kind of right at the edge of my time, but I'm going to completely go off script. I thank you for your leadership, and I want to also, we have accomplished a lot, and we're going to talk about that here this afternoon. There's still more work to be done. We're going to talk about that. But the fact is that this committee and all of its members have helped us, but it's been a team effort, and the team goes beyond just us. I wanted to thank, and Ranking Member Fisher, you thanked your staff. I wanted to thank Elizabeth and Jackie and Nicole and Ben. They are with us every month, every step of the way, and I want to thank my team that's here as well. My assistant chiefs, my leadership team, both sworn and civilian. This has been a team effort over the past 4 years to get where we are today. This didn't just happen. And I appreciate the fact that Gus is here. Gus has been, he wanted many of the same things that I wanted in terms of improvements for the department. And if there were 2 things that I was trying to do, I mean, we can list all of the accomplishments that the department has, but if there were 2 things that I wanted to do, it was first to restore the sense of safety to the people who worked here, who live and work on this campus, around this campus, and also to regain the confidence of the men and women of the Capitol Police in the department, because I think both of those things were harmed and in fact destroyed 4 years ago. So, and it's been a team effort, and I feel very fortunate to have such a strong team around me to get these things done. both of you listed many of the accomplishments we had. I think one of the things that has restored the sense of safety in large part is our ability to respond quickly to whatever happens here on the campus, whether it's 300 people sitting down in the Cannon building or, another group, running the halls over in the Hart building, creating disruptions. Our ability to respond to those things and get them under control and resolve them quickly is one of the things I think that has helped us give people that sense of security here. We have had large events that we've had to prepare for and plan for. I think the visit from the Prime Minister of Israel was a really good test for us, where you had thousands of protesters who were just as angry as any group of protesters that I've seen in my nearly 4 years here. And the operational planning that was done, the things that were put into place, the resources that we had, all kept that protest not only kept the people on campus safe, but it kept the folks that attempted to break the law, that did break the law, it kept them from being able to disrupt anything that was going on in this campus. So that I think was not only was that a good test for us, but it demonstrated really the template that we are using from, that we have been using and that we will use going forward to deal with large demonstrations that we anticipate could have problems associated with them. We've talked about so many of the things that went wrong 4 years ago, and we do have a world-class intelligence bureau now. We do have a civil disturbance unit that can handle any disruptions, any disorderly crowds, and do it safely and effectively. Our wellness center, we've got folks in our wellness center that trauma-informed counselors who can deal with officers who've been through really difficult situations. And then we've got all the wellness and other specialists who can provide just about an exhaustive list of resources to our men and women. I'll just finish with, one of the two big things, and I think, Senator Klobuchar, you mentioned them, was the fact that a law was passed that I have the ability to call out the National Guard. And that has been a great help for us. We've used that. We have that as we talk more and answer questions. I'll talk about how that has assisted us and how it's helped, been a part of our planning for the upcoming electoral count as well as the upcoming inauguration, and then the mutual aid. I mean, one of the biggest issues that we're dealing with now are issues that go directly to the safety and security of members. You talked about the fact that threats have quadrupled since from just a few years ago, and they've also the strategies that some of these folks that would do us harm are using have escalated. It used to be that if when you went home, you might be able to relax a little bit. Well, those days are gone. I mean, members of Congress, just in the last month, we've had over 50 members of Congress swatted. And we've got to look at what we can do to enhance people's security, not only when they're here on campus, but that when they're off campus and in their home districts. And the ability to have this mutual aid and to be able to reimburse local departments for their assistance has allowed us to do so much. And I thank you for that, because without that, I think we wouldn't be able to do half the things that we're able to do now. So there's a lot. I know you all have questions, and there's a lot more that I can talk about, the improvements that we've made, but I will turn it back to you for questions.
Okay. Talked about the officers, and, I remember when the force had been, a lot of people had left, a lot of morale issues, the whole thing. I remember someone telling us, one of our members, we should have a pizza party. I'm like, pizza party's not going to fix this right now. Could you talk about how you've managed to exceed your goal of 280 new officers a year this time? What are the most effective tools for recruiting, retaining officers? So key, as you know, local departments are having issues all over the country, from small rural areas to big metropolitan departments. And we still know we need to hire new officers here. I just want to get your views as a law enforcement leader on what we can do better.
So one of the things that really got us jump-started was the fact that there were changes made in our salary structure, and we have a very competitive starting salary. So that certainly gets people's attention. Then you look at our ability to give retention bonuses, which we've done. That has kept our retention rate lower, as well as gotten more people interested in the Capitol Police. We have other benefits like the student loan repayment program, but I think what really gets people's attention and gets people here and wants them to stay here is the fact that we've got so many opportunities here. To be able to look at career advancement through promotions, to be able to say, well, I want to be a canine officer, I want to be a motor officer, I want to be a dignitary protection agent. There are so many different opportunities within the department for folks that I think that's a great attraction to bring people here, and we've been very successful in being able to get folks here and keep them here.
Right, so I know the department has taken significant steps to address the equipment shortage, also maintenance of equipment. I think our report found that 75% of the officers on January 6th defended the Capitol in their regular uniforms. They couldn't access riot shields. Some of them were locked on a bus. Obviously, you were not in charge back then. Can you talk about, or can you confirm that the department is fully equipped with the equipment that they need now for any kind of large-scale threats or demonstrations?
Yes, I can confirm that. We are. Officers are equipped with state-of-the-art equipment for civil disturbance. And it's great to have the equipment. It's great to have officers that are willing to do it. But it's the training, it's the practicing that we've done that really has our folks ready. I think there's a level of confidence in our officers, especially our CDU officers, that they're ready for anything, and that when they're really being tested, they'll look to the left, they'll look to the right, and they will see that they have adequate resources, adequate people there to accomplish whatever we need to accomplish in keeping this campus safe. And they have the equipment, the training, the less lethal, which was an issue 4 years ago, less lethal munitions. All of those things have been addressed, and we are ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And could you talk about the key ways the department has improved the sharing of information with officers on the front lines? Since that time, that was one of our recommendations.
It was, and I think we did 4 years ago that we were not doing a good job at getting information out to the rank and file. One of the first things that was done was that everybody got a phone, and so we pushed this information out every day. So all the updated intelligence information, we put out briefing sheets every day. We have intelligence briefings every day, and that information is getting out. We also, Chief Gallagher and I just did roll calls for just about every officer on the department. We went to different roll calls to give a briefing about what we've got planned for January 6th and for the inauguration. Chief Gallagher is going to do another round of interviews or another round of briefings at all the roll calls, I think next week. So we want to make sure that everybody has confidence in our plan and everybody knows what the plan is.
Very good. Just quickly, my last question, turning to member security. I know you rely on partnerships with local law enforcement. Your testimony mentions the department's new Protective Intelligence Operations Center to enhance the department's ability to respond to threats. How do you expect the center to improve the investigation of threats when, as we know, so many of them are made away from the mothership of the Capitol?
So I just want to say for the record that Protective Intelligence Operations Center, or the PIOC, is a work in progress. We've stood it up. It's doing a great job in terms of coordinating everything to making sure that when we get these threats that come in, that it gets the proper attention and the proper coordination with all of the department's resources. We want to make sure that we're working hand in hand with the Sergeant at Arms, and so that that we have, when you get 8,000 threats a year, you've got to triage them and determine which are the ones that require immediate attention and which, might not be as urgent. And so the PIOC helps us do all of that.
Very good. Thank you. Senator Fisher.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. Chief, just to follow up here on Chairman Klobuchar's question to you about the Protective Intelligence Operations Center. When we're looking at how members receive verified information of possible threats out there or actions that are taking place, I think it's really important to come from you, not from the media. Do we have a written policy on that, on how the communication goes out? I know we get alerts quite often on our text and on our email, but do we have a written policy on that?
We do, with our social media, where we put information out. When our public information office puts information out, I mean, we do have a policy about that, and there's always a balance in terms of what information that we want to put out. You don't want to harm an investigation, but at the same time, I think the public wants to know, especially if there's something that in and around this campus that might be a danger to other people. We want to make sure that we get information out. So there's a balance there that we try and.
Is there an approval process that you have to follow on just how and when those alerts go out, and if so, how long does that take? Is that part of a written policy?
For most of the alerts come out from the command center, okay. And that we try and be consistent to make sure that and again, this is the balance. We want to get information out quick, but we want it to be accurate. And you ask any police officer, and they'll tell you that the first information you ever get in a crisis is always not quite accurate. It's got a little something wrong with it. So we're trying to get that balance where we get the information out quickly, but make sure it's accurate as well.
Okay. And in your opening statement, you referenced mutual aid and being able to work with local law enforcement and state law enforcement. Do you think those relationships are sufficient to meet additional protective needs? And do you anticipate any increase in mutual aid funding?
I do. Now, I think the first allotment of funding was pretty significant, and I think we're still able to do what we need to do. But this is going to be, I think, for the foreseeable future, we're going to need the help of these local law enforcement agencies in people's home districts, and we're using them not only in relationship to protection duties, but we're also, when any member is having a town hall meeting and they expect to have some protesters there or whatever, our ability to contact that jurisdiction and say, can you have a couple of officers stand by during this town hall meeting, and by the way, we'll reimburse you for their time, because typically many jurisdictions will say, well, we really don't have the staffing to do it, but if they can pull somebody in off duty, if they can pay somebody overtime to assist us with that, it's a win-win. And so I not only for our protection operations, but just for the safety and security of the folks when they're in their home districts, it's been invaluable.
Off the top of your head, do you have any idea how many times you've used that in the last year to be able to contact local law enforcement?
I would say hundreds. Now we have sometimes it's a last minute thing, but we also have memorandums of agreement with a fair number of dozens of police agencies that we seem to call on over and over. But we use it all the time.
Yeah, good, thank you. Few questions on training for the officers. Are training requirements in place so that officers know how to respond to specific types of emergencies?
Yes, yes. I mean, that's part of the basic training that they get at not only at the FLETC Training Academy down in Georgia, but we have our own academy in Cheltenham.
And how many trainings are provided to all officers versus those in special units like the Civil Disturbance Unit?
So everybody, all recruit officers go through 6 months of training, and then they go, after that they go through a few months of field training, and then they're put out on their own. But every officer has to go through a certain amount of in-service training every year, whether it's firearms, whether it's, and typically we'll do something different each year, but have just retraining on critical issues. But officers have to go through about a week's worth of in-service training each year.
Is that pretty standard with other law
Yes.
enforcement across the
Yes.
country? Thank you.
Very good. Senator Padilla is next, but I think Senator Warner is just not going to ask questions, but say something briefly.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman, and my thanks to Senator Padilla and Senator Schiff. I'm in the middle of an Intel committee, and I'm chairing it, so you never get me off the remaining days with the gavel. But I wanted to come over and thank both the chair and the ranking member for their leadership on the Rules Committee. It's been bipartisan. I want to particularly thank my friend Amy Klobuchar for the work she did in the aftermath of January 6th, when working with a bipartisan group of us, we came up with the Electoral Count Act that is now law of the land, that tried to make sure on a procedural basis there was no ambiguity. I appreciate the fact that she helped select the new chief. I appreciate the fact that you worked with your colleague, our friend Roy Blunt, on, through his GAC, making processes better, trying to see where there were mistakes made on January 6th. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for what you both did in terms of getting the Capitol reopened post-COVID. It seems like forever ago, but it was candidly not that forever ago, and how we deal with the public's need to get in and see us, but also to keep not only us, but our staffs safe. And I also just, this is not a committee that always gets a lot of attention, but for so many of the ways that the members and their staffs operate, Senator Klobuchar, you've always been an advocate for making sure that folks are treated fairly, and that we try to, in a challenging circumstance, do our jobs better, but also do our jobs safer. So I am grateful for that, and I will not impugn on my jumping line, other than to leave as a parting thought. If I was going to ask a question, he's not going to answer. It would just be, and Chief Manger and I went through hell and back with the sniper back 20 plus years ago when he was in Fairfax and I was the governor. But I'm still astonished that more folks' heads aren't exploding around Salt Typhoon, where the Chinese are into our telecom networks on a cyber attack, and candidly have the ability to listen to every one of us on a real-time basis. And my hope is, Chief, and I'll get another time that you can get me the answer, is just how do we make sure our cyber protections are better? And I can assure you, they have gone after not just members, they've gone after staff. Yep. And this is an ongoing problem, as I've said repeatedly. The barn door is still open, and how we do a better job protecting, and how we particularly recognize that all of us up here, regardless of the role we play, are targeted by our adversaries, is critically important. So I look forward to hearing more about what the Capitol Police in particular are doing on cyber. And again, my thanks to my great two California colleagues for first and last time I'll ever jump line on you, Adam.
Okay.
I didn't believe that.
Very good. We'll make sure he answers on cyber later, but thank you, Senator Warner. Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. Well, out of utmost respect to our colleague, Senator Warner, Chief, if there's any initial comments or response to the topic Senator Warner laid out, feel free.
Yeah, I think I think we all need to be concerned about the cyber threats, and we do work, the Capitol Police works very closely with the Senate Sergeant of Arms on those kinds of cyber threats. Our Intelligence Bureau has one of our agents is assigned to an FBI task force, a cybersecurity task force, so they're able to not only take the lead on some of those investigations, but they have the resources of the entire FBI with it being on that task force. So that's been very helpful for us. I think the other issue really is how artificial intelligence, it can be a great help, and it can also increase threat activity, and we're seeing both of those things. I mean, we provide information on a pretty regular basis to our oversight committees about how we use artificial intelligence, but I think that the concern from a threat standpoint is that artificial intelligence can really facilitate the more traditional kind of threats, but it also brings some new challenges for us. And just having bad actors, the ability to more easily generate and disseminate propaganda, oftentimes using it to get their followers all geared up, for on some issue. It is a real concern for us, and it's something that I think all of law enforcement is really struggling with at times, because as quickly as we sort of get up to speed on one challenge, then there's something brand new. And I think that this committee and members of Congress in general certainly are aware of how disinformation can harm, and especially with the people's ability to use a member's likeness, that disinformation can be used really maliciously, and that's a huge problem for all of us.
As technology continues to evolve, I think this conversation will continue to evolve. So we'll put a pin in that and say it's to be continued. I want to preface my next question with a little bit of context. My career started in local government. I've served in state government, and now I'm here at the federal government. So while I appreciate the uniqueness of the mission for U.S. Capitol Police, right? This is our nation's capital, and all that you do, not just to keep members safe, staff safe, visitors safe, because this is the people's capital after all. I want to spend a moment on some of the fundamentals that I think are consistent across police departments and agencies, large and small, urban, rural, across the country. We can engage in conversations about use of force or patrolling issues, investigation and technology issues, information sharing, and community-based policing initiatives and beyond. None of that is possible without a strong, reliable police force. And so from my early days, I knew the importance of recruitment, retention, and morale of the rank and file. You've described in your testimony, your written testimony, the difficulties with recruitment, retention, morale during the COVID-19 pandemic, and certainly the unique challenges posed by January 6th of a few years ago. You spoke earlier briefly about some of the improvements on the recruitment side, given salary levels, changes to benefits, et cetera. Can you speak for a minute on the retention side, what's working, what's not working, how we doing? And on the morale side, what's working, what's not working, how we doing?
So I've been a police officer for 46 years, and I spent most of my career in local policing. And I will tell you about morale. Morale is in the eye of the beholder. If a chief sits in front of you and tells you morale's just fine, well, there's some officers there, the morale's great. There's some that the morale is not so good. And then you've got the 80% in the middle that on any given day it could be good or bad. I think what we need to do is make sure we're treating our officers fairly, that when we recruit, we're recruiting the right people for this job. I think if you look back, and I started policing in the 70s, and there were, I don't know what the characteristics they were looking for in a good police officer back then. But I will tell you, we do a 1,000 times better today at selecting the right people for the job, and investing in their training throughout their career, not just in the academy, but throughout their career, and then holding everybody accountable, from me down to the last newest recruit. Everybody's going to be held accountable to do their job the way it's supposed to be done. And if you're fair and you're consistent and you show, and people and officers believe they are appreciated in what they do, that's about the best you can do in terms of morale. We had the officers in this agency lost confidence in the department and in the department's leadership 4 years ago, and I completely understand that. So we've tried to regain that and restore that confidence in the department, and I think we've done. I think it's better, and I won't speak for 2,000 of my cops, but I will tell you that I don't pass a police officer without talking to them, and most will acknowledge that things are much better than they were, and so we just got to keep going with that. And the other thing, I'll finish with this. At local government, that you're a local police department, if they feel like the elected officials appreciate what they do and the public appreciates what they do, it's good for their outlook. And one of the things about this, my third police department, and the culture here is one where these cops know that the people who work here and are on Capitol Hill appreciate what they do. And I'm not saying there's not some exceptions. There are always some exceptions, but the cops here know that people appreciate what they do, and that provides a pretty good culture in this police department, and I'm very proud of that.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Senator Schiff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Padilla was asking me if this has sunk in yet that I'm here in this body and on this committee, and I thought it had, but I look at my nameplate and it still hasn't. I'm not used to seeing not REP on the nameplate, but I'm really thrilled to be on your committee and appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much for your service and for all the people in the department. I really appreciate it. So many of us that were here on January 6th owe our lives and safety to the brave work that the folks in your department have done. And so I want to begin by thanking you and thanking everyone who works with you. I want to raise an issue that I've had a chance to raise before, and let me preface it by saying how much I appreciate how much your department works with my office and with the other members, and I know how taxed you are in terms of capacity and resources. I think we're doing a much better job protecting the building, and I think and the people who work in the building. And I appreciate all the reforms you've undertaken based on the earlier recommendations. I continue to be concerned, though, about whether we're doing enough vis-a-vis staff and members outside the building, particularly in our states. We're seeing, and you're seeing, this dramatic rise in threats and swatting attacks. Certainly my family and myself and my staff and really all of us have experienced that to an extraordinary degree. And I'm not sure that we're going to do anything about it in the Congress unless you come tell us that in your assessment we're not doing enough to protect the members, and in order to do it, we're going to have to make a substantial investment in personnel to do it outside of the Capitol grounds. So I would ask you, what's your assessment of the security of members and staff, particularly in our states and our districts? What more should we be doing? What kind of a budget would you need to make that happen?
Well, thank you for asking that. And thank you for acknowledging that things have changed here on the campus. And that was the number one priority when I took over, is that we had to restore people's sense of safety. We had to get things under control here. And I think in large measure, we have accomplished that. We still need to pay attention to it, but we're in a good place. Who knew that threats would go through the roof, the number of threats? Who knew that the tactics that folks that want to disrupt the lives and disrupt the work of members of Congress would do, would result in people, having, 50 people swatted in the last month, had people disturbed in the middle of the night in their homes because there's people out banging on pots and pans, and just the heightened threat level in this country has not gone down. And so we do need additional resources for exactly what you describe, whether it is in the Dignitary Protection Division, where, as you know, the leadership gets protection details, woefully understaffed. I mean, we've got officers, we provide the protection at the level it needs to be, but you do that through officers working double shifts and averaging, our DPD agents average 50 hours of overtime every pay period, 50 hours. So we've got to get, we've got a 200, 250, somewhere in there, DPD agents. It needs to be 500, it needs to be doubled. And that way we can provide, and not only can we provide protection for the leadership 24/7, but when we have people that have threats against them that require us to stand up temporary details, we can do that. Because right now, when we do it, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're yanking somebody off another detail to stand up a detail to help someone for a temporary threat situation. And I could just give you example after example where we would, if we had the staffing, we'd be able to do a better job in terms of protecting people when they're not on this campus. The threat agents, we had in November, over 700 threats came in the month of November. And we have maybe 20-some threat investigation agents. That needs to be doubled. And, and we're going to add another, I think we're adding another 8, that are just getting out of their basic investigations training this week. So that there's help on the way, but even that is not enough. We've got to continue. So, so the DPD, the threat agents, the intelligence operation we have, I mean, we have such a great intelligence bureau, but we still have agents that are doing the work that analysts should do. We can hire an analyst, a civilian analyst, to sit in front of a computer and go and do the investigative work on a computer. Let the agent be out on in the field, locking people up, knocking on doors to do interviews, and doing the work that only those agents can do. So, I have a simple recipe to get this done. We've gotten to where we are today by having 12 recruit classes, one a month, and of 25 officers, that 288 number. And let's continue that through the next calendar year and maybe the next calendar year after that. But right now, we would need our authorization raised and we'd need our appropriation raised in order to be able to do that for the next year. And I think it has to be done because the critical need for our Protection Services Bureau requires that we continue to train those recruits, get them out in the field. There's a ton of people that you see on these posts around, especially the young ones, and all they want to do is become agents. They want to join a dignitary protection. They want to be a threat agent, investigation agent. And so as those we can move them over there when we backfill. When we backfill with new recruits. So we've got to keep the recruit classes going.
Thank you very much. Do you have some more questions at all? Yeah, go ahead.
Chief, I just wanted to follow up on the staffing levels that we have. And congratulations again on almost reaching the staffing level. I look forward to that continuing to improve. A couple things. What benefits do we as members and what our staff see as those levels are increased? Are we going to have less wait lines to get in the building? Are we going to see other entrances open? Is that something that you're looking at? Because as you know, Senator Klobuchar and I hear about that a lot.
So I think that's always something that we are looking at. I mean, I know that there were a couple of doors over on the House side, and I think 1 or 2 doors on the Senate side that we said, you know, when we get enough people, we're going to reopen that door. And we've done a couple of them, but there's probably more that we would like to do and can add to people's convenience. I'm more looking at some of the those are nice to haves, and I don't mean to diminish them, but those are nice to haves. I've got have to haves, you know, as well, which I just described to Senator Schiff with in terms of getting the caseload manageable for our threat investigation agents and restoring some ability to have a work-life balance with our dignitary protection agents who are working 50 hours of overtime every 2 weeks.
And I'd like to follow up with Senator Padilla when he brought up about your retention. You know, the importance of that. I have a good relationship with law enforcement across Nebraska. I worked with the Omaha Police Department to be able to have not just a recruitment bill here, but also have a retention bill. Do you have specific examples of what you feel your department needs in order to retain veterans, police officers, but also the new recruits that you have, so we don't see the change in the employees?
So I think it's a three-pronged answer here. One, we have a very competitive starting salary, but I can tell you the Secret Service and a bunch of these other agencies are saying, oh, look, Capitol Police not having any trouble hiring people, we got to do what they're doing. So we're getting people that are, you know, they're giving us competition in terms of our starting salary and pay rates and that sort of thing. The retention bonus. We've given a retention bonus every year for the last 3 years, and it has, when you look at our attrition rate, it has dropped because people saying, oh, you know, I'll take the retention bonus, I'll stay here. And then the third issue is, and I'll speak because I represent the senior population. Our mandatory retirement age for federal law enforcement is 57 years old. That's shameful, shameful. We have people that are in the prime of their career at that age, and they got to go. And so, you know, I've been able to get the Capitol Police Board to agree to extend it to the age 60. And I have several officers that I've spoken with just in the last month who are hitting 60 years old, and they said, Chief, I don't want to go. And you look at them, and they look like they're 35, and they certainly can still do the job physically, mentally, and they're the best cops you'd ever want to work with. But I have no ability to hold on to them. Now, the Secret Service had a legislative tweak that just impacts the Secret Service, where they have the option of keeping people to their 65. Okay, let's just add one phrase in there, Secret Service and U.S. Capitol Police. And I don't know that everybody's going to stay till 65, but I know there's some that would. And oftentimes, they're some of the best cops that you have.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you, Chief. Believe it or not, we're having our staff holiday party in this room, and in 1 hour, all your notes will be replaced by eggnog. So I'm aware of our time limits here. But I want to thank you and the officers for your work. I'm sure a few of the members may have some questions in writing. I'm excited to remain on this committee, as I know Senator Fisher is. So we're going to be very close by and continue to be a part of the management of this Capitol and all the work that you do. And hopefully our knowledge will be helpful to those running the committee. I want to especially thank my staff, as Deb thanked hers, for their just unbelievable, diligent, consistent work over the years. Elizabeth Farah, who's been with me along when you go in the Wayback Zone, before I was chair, to Lizzie Peluso, as well as Lindsay Kerr, who all helped me manage this committee. Gus is nodding his head, remembering all these days. I also want to thank Steve Spalding, who's done incredible work on our election work, and Ben Driscoll, our counsel, Kristen Mollett, who's just done really, really good work in the Capitol. Allison Hun, same thing. Kulani Jalata, and Kahil Lee, who I've known for quite a while. I also want to thank our clerks, Cammie Morrison and Casey Jones, who is a great name, let's face it. So thank you to all of them for their work, as well as the rest of the Rules Committee staff, not just Deb staff, but also the nonpartisan staff that works here that makes this Capitol work. And we're eager for what's to come, and it's not every job you can feel like, okay, we left this in a better place than when we came in. But because of your good work and all the officers, we firmly believe that, not only with law enforcement, but also with a number of other things that came under our jurisdiction in the Capitol. And we did it without a lot of fanfare or fights or public humiliations, which seem to go with the work of elected officials these days. We did it the right way, working with the leaders on both sides of the Capitol. So I can't think of a better way to go out, and look forward to continuing to work with you, Chief.
Thank you. I will, one comment and one question. My comment is, when you were here with Senator Blunt, I didn't think it could get any better. Clearly, I was wrong. And
But we just won't tell Senator Blunt
don't
that.
tell him. But my question is, I believe I understood you correctly when you said that we were all invited to this holiday party that's going to
Yes, the whole police force. Okay, with that, we will keep the record open over the next week for any additional questions from senators, and the hearing is adjourned. Thank you.